Most men are not good people. This is the truth that most people are just simply not willing to accept and not willing to understand. The Joe Budden podcast was very revealing to this, because when Joe Budden was going back and forth with Angela, and she was basically trying to explain the man versus bear analogy, that how most women would pick the bear over the man. Like, all the men on the podcast got very.
Did you mean Melissa Ford? I think she's talking about Melissa Ford. Anyways, I'm not the best at pronouncing names, remembering names, but I think you guys remember what she's talking about.
Offended and irritated. And we're basically trying to say, well, this is just propaganda of how, society views the black man, and how they're trying to keep him down and trying to paint him as to be aggressive. But there's a lot of good men, and who are, good upstanding citizens, and who care for their children, and who are good leaders, and this and that and the third. But when she asked the question of, okay, so when you talk to your daughter, are you more likely to warn her about men in the world, specifically men, when you're trying to give your daughter advice? They intentionally, specifically try to act obtuse, and they try to pretend like they didn't know what she was trying to say, and then try to go with that. Well, I would warn her of all people, because all people are capable of ill intent and things like that. And most women have been either raped, assaulted, or harassed before the age of 18. But most men don't know predators. They don't know any rapists. They don't know any molesters. Very interesting. But the thing is, they do know, these men. They do know that most of them are terrible. But the reason why they protect this lie and they uphold it is because it's their uncles, it's their fathers, it's their brothers, it's their best friends, it's them themselves.
I can't take it anymore. This video is titled, mind you, this video is titled, "Most Men Are Not Good People." Think about that, right? Here's my question for you. We've seen CNN cover the manosphere and how it's a pipeline to conservatism, and men who are just crazy racist and white supremacist, which is kind of funny because how did you miss every other aspect that you could have talked about other than the one thing they love to do, which is co-opt a certain discussion, a movement, and flip it into some race bait shit. But anyways, you see large platforms that discuss men and hateful messaging. And that's anything, right? If you're a man who says, hey, I value traditional dynamics, I think a man should be the head of a household, so on and so forth, you are hateful according to some of these platforms, women, and some other people who may disagree with that. But they will allow this. Where are the hit pieces? Where are the media platforms addressing platforms run by chicks who say things like most men are not good people? I have never said most women are not good people. I have, however, said most women today don't know what it takes and how selfless you have to be within a relationship because of, feminism, how much they've embraced it. But I don't think I could ever say most women are not good people, or they lack value in life in general and they're terrible people. That's a whole different conversation. Now, that's me. Some random person in the comment section could possibly say that, but I have never said that. And I don't see a lot of dudes who run podcasts, men who have platforms saying that. But this right here is accepted. Let me ask you, what do you take from that? Serious question, guys. What do you take from the fact that they allow this chick to get online to say, hey, most men are not good people, and there's a young boy somewhere who's scrolling, and you're like, why does he listen to women talk and think, well, why would you say that about me? I'm not a good person. And then he comes on the coffee pod that tells him, hey, man, be careful, protect your seed, embrace your masculinity, or anywhere else, right? Wherever he may gravitate to, and hear some ounce, just some hope of somebody who's encouraging him and speaking life to him in some form of fashion. How are you surprised by this? Where are the hit pieces? That's my question. Let's keep listening.
To admit that most of them are not good people would mean they would actually have to look themselves in the mirror and have to swallow this hard pill, this hard truth that they're actually a lot more monstrous than they like to admit. They would have to look themselves in the mirror and see that they have to be the ones to change, and they'd have to be the ones to go against the gradients and speak up against all the things that they see in their lives that they know are wrong, that they know actually create harm towards women. What man wants to do that? What man wants to stand up to their friends? What man wants to inconvenience himself by standing up against men who are predatory, against men who make misogynistic, sexist remarks, against men who are harassing women? What man wants to do that?
Harassing women. So listen, here's the problem, right? I would definitely call out harassment, but is harassment asking a chick for a number and approaching her? I bet you she would say it is. Leave us alone. And then men have left them alone. Predatory behavior, saying, hey, we're in a relationship. I don't think you should go to Jamaica and get your cheeks clapped. Oh, I can do whatever I want. By the way, you should still protect me and maintain your traditional role. But I have no say of the type of danger I put myself in or how I choose to move within this relationship. Like, what are we talking about exactly? They would love for this conversation to only go one way. That is the goal. And unfortunately for you, God made men so that their emotions don't override their critical thinking skills. And they're just not falling for CNN hit pieces anymore.
When a lot of them thrive on the male validation of their group and their friends. Men want to act like most of them are good people until they have a daughter and all they're talking about to her is, oh, men ain't shit. Oh, men just want you for one thing. They just want to use you. Don't fall for it. But that's because they know most of them have a predatory mentality. Like I said, men are not natural providers or protectors. They're natural opportunists and oppressors. So if they have an opportunity to oppress in any way, shape, or form in order to get something that they want without any consequences, most of them will take it. And this idea that most men are good is just men's attempt at communally gaslighting women so that women's guards can be down in order for women to be easier to further oppress and prey on. Why would a pack of hyenas tell the antelope to run? That goes against their own self-interest. They would never do that. Now, if it's their child, it's a whole different thing. That's when they actually tell the truth, if they're worth a damn. But
All right. So what do you guys think? Of course, curious to know. Curious to know. Always curious to know. I love reading you guys' comments. Are most men good? I think most people believe they are good, try to be good, but both men and women have their dark side. They both have their dark natures. And this idea that only men have elements of them where they could, where they could be bad. And that's not what she's saying. She's saying most men are just bad in general. So we won't even entertain that conversation seriously at all. Let's read a few of these comments. Top comment here says, didn't Joe Budden beat a woman so bad she miscarried? I don't see one man does one thing. Now all men are put into that particular, umbrella. Next comment here says, this is why I don't understand blaming the woman for her male partners treating her poorly. Huh? Where are you finding these men? Everywhere, behind their mask of being good people. And this is why we need platforms for men, because they would love for the people who have a platform to only have one opinion. And that is women struggle in relationships, all due to men. It's always the man's fault. Somebody else who says, I basically don't interact with them unless I have to for work, and tell as many people as possible to be careful around them. To some extent, I see this too within male spaces, right? You have men out here who also go way far and overboard. And I just think that's ridiculous. I block you. When I have a guy who comes on my channel is like, there's no such thing as a good woman. I'm like, bro, you're part of the crazy bunch and you think you're good, right? There's a part there, an element that you just don't understand. I just block you. If I get on here and I see somebody who's just like plain, just like doomsdayer, the world is burning, F everything, I'm like, this is not the channel for you. Somebody else who says, my dad was the first guy to warn me. That's okay. Your dad should warn you about bad men out there, the same way that I will warn my daughter about bad men. But you know what else I also do? Warn my son about bad women. But Chisha, they don't exist. That's what they think. They think that men should just go into this world with open arms because they don't exist. This next comment here says, I am 45. I never met a good man, and I traveled the world. Just craziness. Craziness, man. This is what CNN loves to see. And the reason why somebody else may not have seen my recent video, the reason why I'm picking on CNN, and they will forever remain on the sip tea list over here, is because of the recent hit piece they tried to do on macho podcasters, grouping them all in white supremacy buckets. It's just absurd. Listen, guys, of course, curious to know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Appreciate you always checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Podcast. I'm out. Peace.